Greetings, travelers. This is your storyteller, Wyatt Walton, and this is another episode of Stories on the Road. For today's story, I am going to be talking about my godfather, whom, for privacy reasons, I will be calling Shawn. So, a few things about my godfather, Shawn, is that he and my dad were best friends while they were growing up. One of my dad's best friends. And they were in a wrestling team together while in high school. Now, Shawn was a very angry person while growing up because he had an abusive stepfather. There will be days where, from the stories that I've heard from both my dad and Shawn himself, there were days where Shawn would come home and his stepfather would beat the ever-loving crap out of him. And there were even a few instances where his stepfather even sent him to the hospital. So as you can probably guess, he was not a happy person while growing up. What was especially rough was, in wrestling there is a move called a nose cross, which is something that you use to try to pin one of your opponents down. Shawn was so violent with this move called the nose cross that he would literally break the nose of every single opponent that he would come across because of how angry he was. However, that all changed one day when Shawn finally had enough when he was in high school. So, one instance, his stepfather ended up beating the shit out of him, and it got so bad that he ended up in the hospital, and he was in there for a couple days. And once he was discharged, something inside Shawn snapped. Now, here's the thing about my godfather, Shawn. He has this look in his eyes to the point where you have no idea whether or not he's going to crack a joke or he's about to crack your skull. It could be either one. This guy can crack a joke and tell the funniest thing you've ever heard, and he won't even make a single expression. He will just be blank-faced. So, Shawn gets out of the hospital, and something in him just absolutely snaps. He gets back home, and when he makes sure that his stepfather was too drunk to really do anything, he takes a baseball bat and beats the ever-loving crap out of his stepfather to the point where he sent him to the ICU. So as you could probably guess, his stepfather never really messed with him after that, which is good for him, because I probably would have reacted the same way if I was in his shoes. But other than that, there's also a few funny stories that he told me about things that have happened in his life. One of which was how he tried to date his wife while they were in high school. So his wife, whom I will be calling Tina, for, again, safety reasons. So Tina and Shawn started dating when they were in high school. And the problem was Tina's dad did not like Shawn at all. And he ended up getting to this point where he threatened Shawn that if he ever came near Tina, he would basically beat the absolute crap out of him. So one story that he told me was one day Shawn had a plan. He ended up going into a fundraiser where they would sell pizzas. And he made sure to be able to see if Tina's dad would buy some of these pizzas, which he did. So, on the day the pizzas were supposed to be delivered, Shawn goes to his house with the pizzas. Tina's dad opens up the door, and he sees Shawn, and he loses his mind. He starts screaming at him, going, "What did I tell you? I thought I told you to stay away from my house." And Shawn just has the pizzas. He goes, "Sir, I'm just here to deliver these pizzas to you." So they get into a little spat. He ends up dropping off the pizzas. He ends up driving away. And an hour after he got home, there was a knock on his door, and Shawn's older brother went and answered it. And when Shawn's older brother opened up the door, he saw Tina's dad standing there in the doorway. And Shawn's older brother comes back over to Shawn and goes, hey man, I think this is for you. So Shawn confronts Tina's dad. They have another spat, and then Tina's dad ended up challenging Shawn. They both went out into the front yard and they duked it out. Now, I wasn't given the exact details. All I know is that Shawn lost. But on that day, they both went back into Shawn's house, sat down, didn't speak for 10 minutes. And then after that, Tina's dad allowed Shawn to start seeing Tina again, which was good for him. So Tina and Shawn ended up getting married. They became my godparents. They ended up having a few kids together. I believe it was 1 son and 3 daughters. I could be wrong about that. But next funny story was, in fact, about one of Shawn's daughters. So Shawn became a very protective dad when his daughters became teenagers, and especially when they were teenagers. Now, all 3 of his daughters had this problem where they would try to get boys to sneak into their rooms when they were in high school. One such boy was someone named Ed. And this is probably the funniest story I have ever heard from my godfather. So this is what happens. Ed tried sneaking into Shawn's house to basically meet up with Shawn's daughter. And when this happened, Shawn ended up waking up to hearing some commotion inside his house. So he woke up, he grabbed his gun, ran out to his daughter's room, opened it up, window was open, no one was in except Shawn's daughter. So he immediately knew that someone had tried sneaking in and then got out the moment they heard Shawn running over. So Shawn runs outside. It's dead at night. He can barely see anything. He looks around and he goes on this manhunt to try to find Ed. And by the way, he knew that this was Ed because he knew that his daughter was dating him. So Ed is running around the entire property trying to avoid Shawn. Shawn's hunting him down, and he's got Ed. Shawn is half awake, he's extremely pissed, and he's got a loaded gun in his hands. He is not in the mood to play around. So he ends up going around trying to find Ed. He ends up spotting Ed a couple times darting behind trees, but every time he goes and tries to catch up, Ed's gone. So at this point, Shawn's really, really pissed about this. And at one point, he goes out into his front yard and he looks out towards his driveway. And parked right in front of his driveway, is a black car. So Shawn immediately thinks, oh, that must be Ed's car. It wasn't. He goes over and he sees someone sitting inside the car, just chilling out right in front of their property. So my godfather, Shawn, has the gun hidden behind his back, and he slowly walks up to the car and he knocks on the window. And when he looks inside the window, he sees what he thinks is Ed. It was not Ed. It was Ed's older brother, and he was trying to find him. So he rolled down the window, and Shawn saw that it was Ed's older brother, and he goes, what the hell are you doing here? And Ed's older brother goes, oh, I'm just looking for my homeboy, which he meant Ed, who was his brother. So Shawn thinks that he's collaborating with Ed to try to get him to sneak in, so he immediately takes out his gun, he starts pounding on the car door, he starts yelling at Ed's older brother, screaming at him, going, what the hell do you think you're doing? Don't you realize what could happen if I catch your brother and I'm still pissed like this? Ed's older brother starts freaking out and he goes, no, man, I'm trying to look for him. I have no idea where he is, and I assume that he was here. I'm trying to find him. So they both come to an agreement. They're like, okay, crap, we both got to find him. And Ed's older brother is basically trying to find him first before Shawn finds him, because he knows that if Shawn finds Ed, then he's probably going to be more dead than when Ed's older brother finds him. So they end up splitting up. They each go to different parts of the property. And Shawn goes back inside of his house to basically like catch his breath. Comes back out, and he finally finds Ed sneaking around towards the window of his daughter's room. And Shawn comes up behind him, and Ed does not know that he's there. And he puts the gun to Ed's head, and he goes, "What the hell are you doing, kid?" And Ed almost pisses himself. He gets super scared. They end up having a very long talk with both him and Ed's older brother. And Shawn was ready to kill someone that night. He was not happy. So, long story short, they ended up calling Ed's parents. They were extremely pissed about what was going on. They ended up picking up Ed and his brother. Well, technically his brother ended up driving home along with them in his own car. So, that was pretty much it. What's actually kind of funny is that Ed and Shawn's daughter are now happily married, and they even have a couple kids together, which is even funnier just after hearing this story and finding out that they were married. Like, oh, he actually accepted this kid. But yeah. That's technically the story of my godfather, Shawn. Also, he is a retired Navy, which is kind of interesting because he gets seasick very, very easily. He hates being out on the water. But all in all, he and his wife, Tina, are very great people. They're amazing, amazing people that I've had in my life. And being able to see them is always great. And that basically concludes it. Yeah. That's stories of my godfather, Shawn, and how he was growing up. He was best friends with my dad. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I'm gonna close this with another fun fact for the day. So, did you know that Queen Victoria used to smoke marijuana in order to cure her cramps? Because it's a natural painkiller. You probably didn't. I also didn't until a couple years ago, so that's very interesting. Anyway, this has been another episode of Stories on the Road. Please like and subscribe. And if you have your own stories that you would like shared, please feel free to submit them, and I will be happy to share them in any other episode. Anyway, thank you for watching. Again, this has been another episode of Stories on the Road, and I am your storyteller, Wyatt Walton. Until next time, stay safe, travelers.